Hey everybody, welcome into Western New York High School Football Weekly. I'm Francis Beck, joined by Tom Prince. Week 8 edition. Playoffs are finally here, Tom.
We were waiting, but it goes by so quick.
I know.
It really has been a blink of an eye. I felt like we were running around Western New York trying to do preseason things, and look at where we are now. We're now already narrowing down the teams that got a chance to get it to Highmark Stadium.
Yeah, so we're going to, we did our playoff preview show. That was Saturday. Hopefully you watched. We have a ton of people watching that one where we spoke to 15 players. We also showed you the brackets, and, we talked about those brackets. So you know that's out there. We're putting out those individual interviews as well as the week goes on. So today we're kind of keep it to a regular format. We did our playoff preview. This is going to be our weekly show. We're going to talk about the best games of last week. We're going to talk about the top performances, and we're going to look ahead to the best games of Week 9. So, Tom, it was beyond it being Week 8. It was also rivalry week, and you got one of the rivalry games that was pretty close.
Yeah, obviously every time Frontier and Hamburg are going to go head-to-head, it's going to be a great matchup. I mean, they literally are as close as probably two schools get to each other, right, when you're talking about proximity. Frontier wins this one 29-28. What a game. 16-15 at half, right? At the end of the third quarter, it's 22-20, right? I mean, it was just a phenomenal game that was right there. We only have the stats right now for Hamburg that is in there, but Lavelle for their quarterback, 81 yards passing, but he also does it on the ground, 17 carries, 59 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was the man when it came to touchdowns. Emmett Reeder also ran the ball for 40 yards, and he had the other touchdown for Hamburg. Michael Maggiore has 5.5 tackles and a sack. Derek Benningfield goes for 8.5 tackles in this one for Hamburg. You know what I mean? It's one of those games that both teams obviously get up for, and was close all throughout. And this is the kind of game you want to be a part of in one of those games. We had a couple big rivalry games, some that we're going to talk about, some that obviously, didn't make our list just because we only have a certain amount of time to talk about them. But there were some nice rivalry games out there this week, and some great performances in those rivalry games to kick things out. Because for some of them, it's a push to get to the playoffs too, right? It is the push to be able to say, wow, we're ready, or what adjustments do we need to make? All different things that they're going to look at along the way to be able to see what do we need to make sure we clean up a little bit or keep going in this run to the playoffs.
All right, speaking of the playoffs, we build this as an important game on Thursday night. Williams-Least at McKinley. The Macs needed to either win or lose by less than 19 points. They win by 26. The Macs were actually down at half, 8-0 to the Will-East Flames, but came back strong in the third. They returned to kickoff their opening drive. They go down to the field and score. Tyrone Hughes really led that drive, and it was capped off by their quarterback, Azari Ngunde, who ran for the touchdown. But they have a 24-point third quarter. They followed up with 2 more scores in the fourth to get the win, 38-14. Tyrone Hughes finishes with 170 yards, a touchdown. He also had 8 tackles and a pick. Kennar Lewis also had a great game. He was actually their leading rusher, 239 yards, 3 Ts. He also had 7 tackles and an interception. So McKinley, they do clinch that. They're going to be the 3 seed overall. They win the Class A2 championship, and I believe it's their 3rd division title in 4 years. So the McKinley program certainly heading in the right direction.
And it was great to see because, they go down early, 8-0. You start to wonder, wow, is all that momentum going to Williamsville East? Are they going to get that next score? Start flirting with that 19 points that they needed to get. And then McKinley's defense just starts coming up big and really looked like a different team in the second half where they really shut things down.
Well, I talked about it with Tyrone Hughes on our interview Saturday. They've kind of been the cardiac kids of Western New York this year.
That's what you called them on the interview, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've come back against Kenmore West, who, by the way, they faced this week. They've come back against West Seneca West. Even NT, they were kind of tight with early and then just poured on in the second. So, that's always a good skill to have. I think if you're Coach Davis, you hope maybe in your first-round game especially, you can just get out to a fast start and keep it going rather than needing to come back. But, I mean, it's always a good skill set to have, especially as you get deeper into the playoffs.
So the next game we're going to go to, right, is another one of those rivalry games, and one we've talked about a lot. May not get a lot of publicity as far as, you know what I mean, in the proper Buffalo area. But if you aren't looking out and thinking that Albion Medina is one of the top rivalries in Western New York, you're crazy, because it really is. And I'll tell you, if you didn't think the Jones boys had this sucker circled after getting, as we know, Amari gets hurt in this game
The
last
final
year.
drive.
Yep.
They were on the way to taking the lead on that final drive, or very late in the fourth quarter, and he gets injured.
So he wanted this one bad. No doubt both Jones brothers wanted this one bad, and Amari does it again. 163 yards. He throws a touchdown. He also runs for a touchdown where he carries it for 77 yards and a touchdown. Javon has 4 receptions for 49 yards. Dallas Eckerd has 4 receptions for 57 yards. And Kwame O'Reilly has 2 receptions for 25 yards and received the touchdown that Amari throws. Amari has 5 tackles and a bunch of others with 4 tackles in this one. For Medina, it was Skinner, right? Skinner comes up big, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. Listening to Skinner when I did the interview, he kept alluding to all the younger players as the skilled guys. And I go, you keep alluding to everyone else as a skilled guy, but you're a skilled guy now, right? You're not that guy. And he doesn't look at himself like that.
If you think about it, that's kind of super old school. Used to be the fullback is like a... Actually, no, that wouldn't be old school. What I'm trying to say is fullback used to be the glamour position in the way old days of football before the running back. So it's kind of interesting. He sees himself as just a hardy fullback.
That fullback was always the blocker, right? The guy who led the way for the running back is what he did. And really this is his team, right? He's the guy right now that's got to lead the way out there. And guess what? You're a skilled guy to do that, right? You really are. And he's as humble as they come, and that's why you're going to like this guy even more, right? He truly is humble in what he does. But I'll tell you, fantastic kid, and no doubt this was a great game where the stars rose to the occasion in this one.
All right, another rivalry game where the stars rose to the occasion. TNT, everybody knows that one of the oldest in Western New York. It was the North Tonawanda Lumberjacks getting the win at home, 30-20. Lumberjacks have a 22-6 lead at the half and take care of business in the second to get this one. Nash Reiselman, we talked about him a lot preseason. I know he had an injury this year. He had a big game, 13 of 24, 170 yards, 4 touchdowns. And that pretty much was the difference for North Tonawanda. On the other side, for the Warriors, Alexander Gallo was pretty much kept in check. Granted, he scored all 3 touchdowns for the Warriors, but he only ran for 77 yards and only caught 2 passes for 28 yards. So NT defense does their job, and they get the big win in that one.
But how many times we heard a lot of this week where it was the yardage may not have been this spectacular yardage, but they're getting in the end zone. And period, that's what you got to do to win games, is ultimately get in the end zone, right? So you have to give them credit, and especially him credit, for getting in the end zone right there still, even though he may not have gotten the glamour 100-yard rushing day, he still gets in the end zone 3 different times right there. So Now we're going to go to another rivalry that, again, we probably don't talk about up in Buffalo proper, and that is Allegheny Limestone versus Olean. And Allegheny Limestone comes up big in this one. And their quarterback, Michael Frederick, goes for 162 yards and a touchdown. He also carries the ball for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. Andrew Giardini also has a touchdown for 1 carry. It was for the touchdown. He also had 4 receptions for 54 yards and a touchdown. Gabe Ramadan goes for 6 receptions and 62 yards in this one. Aaron Fowler goes for 11 tackles. Giardini also has 8.5 tackles. And Kevin Edwards Hardy has 7.5 tackles, a sack, and a fumble recovery in this one. Flip side on for Olean, Joe Mest actually has 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ryan Eisenberg carries the ball 6 times for 23 yards and a touchdown. Memphis App carries it for 11 carries, 59 yards. Kate Anastasia, their top receiver there, 4 receptions, 59 yards, another touchdown for him. Eisenberg also catches the ball for a 48-yard reception and a touchdown as he has 2 TDs in this one. Kate Anastasia also 8 tackles, 2 interceptions in this game. And then Manoa Mike Tish, 9 tackles, 1 fumble recovery. And Ryan Eisenberg does it running, does it catching, and has 9 tackles in this one for Olean. But a great game as it was 30-21. Allegheny Limestone wins this. They're down 14-6 at half. It's tied 14-14 after 3 quarters. So another great game. They win the 4th quarter 16-7, and that's a difference in this game right there.
All right, from one rivalry to another, Battle of West Seneca, in what was quietly one of the best games of the night. West Seneca West holds on to beat West Seneca East 27-21. The Indians, I believe, were up 27-0 at one point. They were at least up 20-0 at the half, but the Trojans come scoring back. They score 1 touchdown in the 3rd, and they score 2 more late in the 4th, and I'll tell you, they were about 30 yards away from scoring that 4th touchdown and potentially bringing overtime or even winning it in the final seconds. But for West, leading the way was quarterback Caden Stupek, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. Receiving, Alexi Santiago had 3 catches for 74 yards. West Seneca East, they were led by, of course, Mike Hayes and Charlie Rosario. Hayes had 107 yards and 1 touchdown. Charlie Rosario had 37 yards. But they did what they needed to do in this one.
So now we're going to go over to the Monsignor Martin Conference, where no doubt could have been the game of the weekend when you look at it. St. Francis plays Canisius. They win this one big, 36-13. It's 29-7 after half, and then St. Francis scores 7 in the 4th, and Canisius 6 in the 4th, and that's your scoring right there. St. Francis, led by their quarterback, Steve Otremba Jr., has 107 yards in this one and 2 touchdowns. He also runs for a touchdown where he has 46 yards on the ground also. Ricardo Kidd does his thing again with 130 yards, and Pendergrass has got 96 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing for St. Francis. And then, of course, Logan Reska leads the way for receiving with 66 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one, and really just has an absolute day. And then on the tackle front and the defense front, Brady Greenhour goes for 5 tackles for St. Francis. Pevichev leads the way for Canisius. Start out. Now, Zimmerman ends up having to come in, throws for 94 yards and a touchdown in this one. And then on the ground, you can see that's right where the difference in this game was on the ground. Howard Dolson, though, leads the way with 20 yards in this one. And Jaden Clark, 3 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. And I want to say it was this one where he actually breaks the school record for receptions at Canisius as a sophomore. So you're going to hear a lot more of this kid. He's getting a lot of Division I looks too. But Clark, no doubt, leading the way from the reception wise. Him and Doctor, definitely a great pair out there for Canisius.
All right, our final game we're going to talk about from Week 8, a one with major playoff implications. The Sparks needed 13 points to clinch the number 1 seed. They win this one by 14, 20-6. And this was a defensive battle. The South Park defense came up big. They held Maritime to 0 points really till the end of the game in this one. And then on offense, of course, it was Noah Willoughby was the man. 12 for 18, 168, 3 yards, 2 touchdowns, not flashy numbers. He also runs for about 80 yards and a touchdown, but he does what he needs to do to get his team the win and lead South Park to that number 1 seed.
Yeah, and I mean, it really was a big game. You said is that 6 points was scored after the 20 was scored for South Park. Right?
And I believe it was within the final maybe 3 minutes or so.
So, I mean, give South Park not only their offense credit for being able to put up the 20 points, but give their defense credit, because here is an offense that obviously put up over 30 points against the Canisius team, right? This is no slack of a team that's out there. Give Coach Delaney credit. Give that South Park defense credit as they come up big and clinch that top seed right there that they were looking to do.
Yeah, I believe South Park tweeted it out. They've now won 7 division titles in 10 years. I don't know. There's not many programs who can boast that or much better than that. Over the past 10 years, you can make an argument they might be the most successful program.
I think Lancaster may have something to say about that.
10 years, though?
But what was it, 4? It was 5 in 5 years is right there, right? For
if you go back 10 years.
But I mean, 5 of them in 5 straight years was Lancaster. And this year they're going to get the nod again.
Yeah. No,
so that's 6, right?
Yeah.
So I get it, but I mean, you see where I'm coming from. There is a couple teams that have a stake of claim to that, but no doubt, it's very impressive. I don't want to take anything away from it, and I'm not coming off that we should take anything away from it, because it is absolutely unbelievable. Like we always say, is Coach Delaney's one of the best, and he proves it over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Every time we always say is, if someone's going to bet against Coach Delaney, man, I'm going on the other side of that bet every single day, right? Because he really does prove how good of a coach and how well prepared he is. And again, a great coaching staff over there at South Park too.
All right, that'll do it for our first segment. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the best individual performances. We have Connolly Cup nominees, Trent's Trophy nominees, and we're going to recognize, over 40 of the top performers of Week 9. You're watching Western New York High School Football Weekly on WNY Athletics.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
With exclusive buyer insights and our 100% money-back guarantee, we're confident we'll find buyers for your home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Welcome back to Western New York High School Football Weekly. Francis Beck, Tom Prince, and we're going to talk about some of the top performances of Week 8. We'll start with the Connolly Cup Players of the Week. They are Ben Dickinson from Newfane, Trey Drake from Jamestown, Michael Frederick, Allegheny Limestone, Ethan Fry, Fredonia, Billy Geschel, Lackawanna, Justice Hill, Maryvale, Ricardo Kidd, St. Francis, Kenara Lewis, McKinley, Caleb Nicholas, Amherst, Logan Ruska, St. Francis, Nash Reichelman, North Tonawanda, Jesse Stallman, Salamanca, Najar Starks, Burgard, Matt Sweet Eden, and Noah Willoughby from South Park.
And I want to preface this again, folks. It is not Western New York Athletics that picks any of these members. It is a Conley Cup committee that does that, and those nominations come from the Conley Cup committee is where that comes from. The same thing goes for the Trench Trophy. The difference between the two awards, Trench Trophy is a senior-only award. You can receive a nomination once to try to get the top 10. You cannot receive it more than once you get the nomination. Conley Cups, after the first couple weeks, then you can get multiple nominations, again, trying to get down to a top 10. For the Trench Trophy, Eric Guzdick for Amherst, Malik Lucas for Western New York Maritime Health Sciences, Caleb McKenzie for Canisius, Michael Rabatoy for Sweet Home, Desmond Walker for Maryvale, Andrew Warren for Akron, and James Weaver for Lockport are your Week 8 nominees for the Trench Trophy.
All right, now we'll move on to our top performers of week number 8, and we're going to start with Kennar Lewis. We talked about that McKinley-Will East game, the importance of that game in terms of playoffs. He knew it. He showed up big. He runs for a season-high 239 yards on 15 carries and 3 touchdowns in this one. Tom, the highest he had all season before this was 103 yards against Sweet Home.
But what the best part about that was both running backs did it. They ran for almost 400 yards in this one.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable what they did on the ground, and you got to give credit to both him and Hughes, and then you know where else that credit's got to go. It's going to the offensive line, because there's no doubt that they come up big in this one. Next, we're going to go off to Xander Hine for Randolph. He carries the ball for 27 times, 218 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this one. He also has 2 receptions for 62 yards as he comes up big for the win against Portville as they win 39-0 over Portville.
All right, Cameron Warburton ran for 197 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 44-12 loss against Maryvale. Don't let that score fool you. That game was actually like only 2-3 scores at the half. It wasn't until the fourth quarter when Maryvale really added in those extra touchdowns. So that's Cameron Warburton from Cheektowaga.
The next one we're going to go over to is Williamsville North, and Kendall Donovan has a game. He runs for 195 yards. The longest run was 64 in that one. He also adds 3 touchdowns to the mix as Williamsville North defeats Niagara Wheatfield 56-21 in this one.
All right, Big Cat Trophy was on the line at Amherst, and it was Caleb Nicholas showing up. He ran for 192 yards on 33 carries and it got a touchdown in a 22-20 win over the Sweet Home Panthers.
You remember at the end of some of the podcasts this past week, I gave a little tribute out to those seniors and said, leave it all out in the field, right? Make sure you come up big. Now Micah Davis, the man down in Fredonia, he does exactly that. Micah Davis comes up big against Dunkirk in a rivalry game, 183 yards on the ground, has 2 touchdowns in this one. Micah Davis does exactly that and comes up big as a senior.
We talked about his teammate to start off. Tyrone Hughes, the sophomore running back out of McKinley, ran for 170 yards on 19 carries and had a touchdown in that 38-14 win over Williamsville East. He also, I believe, had he had a couple tackles to go along with an interception in this one, and that one was actually down by the goal.
I'll tell you, this train right now with Iroquois is just unbelievable. And the one leading the way on that train, no doubt, is Trevor Berry, the running back. He has been huge this season. Another big game, 164 yards, 4 touchdowns he has against East Aurora Holland. He also catches the ball twice for 40 yards as Iroquois wins this one 69-0.
All right, next we are going to Bishop Timon for Demarius Pettyway Scarver. He sneaked in on our list these past couple weeks from Bishop Timon. Let's see, trying to see, did their stats get...
Yep, I got it right here.
Okay.
So he runs the ball for 154 yards against Cardinal O'Hara and 2 touchdowns in this one as Bishop Timon wins 42-8 in their win over Cardinal O'Hara.
All right, our next player is from Pioneer, or actually, no, you're going to take the next player.
That's right. So Trent Burchanowski is our next player from CSP as he runs for 133 yards against St. Mary's and 3 touchdowns he has in this one as CSP defeats St. Mary's 48-7.
All right, we're going to head over to Pioneer where Kyle Stover ran for 121 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 14 carries in a 49-0 win over Lewiston Porter. He also caught 2 passes for 12 yards.
Now we're going to go, we already talked about Barry, right? And we already talked about that McKinley hybrid that happened here. Iroquois does the same thing. This time gets on the list is Tom McAnulty as he plays for Iroquois. He runs for 94 yards in this one, but he also has 3 touchdowns. Think about that, 7 touchdowns from the running back spot right there for Iroquois.
All right, we talked about the Cheektowaga-Maryville game earlier. The Maryville running back only ran for 87 yards, but he had 4 touchdowns and averaged 6.2 yards a carry. That's Justice Hill from Maryville.
Micah Harry didn't need to put up the yards against Depew, but he did need to put up the touchdowns, and he has 3 touchdowns in this one with 48 yards as Lancaster defeats Depew in America's rivalry game 41-8. He also receives the ball twice for 19 yards in that one.
All right, now we're going to move on to the quarterbacks. We'll start with Caden Overcamp. In a 27-20 win over Grand Island, the sophomore threw for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns, going 15 of 21. That's Caden Overcamp, the sophomore from Williamsville South.
Yeah, you want to go to the sophomore? I'm going to go to the freshman right now. As we go back to Iroquois, and it's Justice Clates again. 15 out of 17, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns in this one in that East Aurora Holland win. And I'll tell you, the stats on this kid for the year, unbelievable. We don't hear seniors having these stats, and he's doing it as a freshman.
All right, we're going to go way up to Newfane. Big rivalry game, Newfane-Wilson. Quarterback Nate Snow for the Panthers had himself a day. He was 14 of 21, 215 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also ran the ball 9 times for 41 yards and a touchdown as well. That's Nate Snow from Newfane.
We're now going to go over to St. Joe's as Aaron Gents has his game. He throws for 194 yards and 3 touchdowns in this one. He also carries the ball for 39 yards as St. Joe's wins 28-14 over St. Andrews.
All right, it was another big Friday night lights in Fredonia. Ethan Fry throws for 184 yards, 3 touchdowns, and runs for 27 yards in a 47-20 win over their rival, Dunkirk.
Okay. Western New York, I know you heard me say it first, right? But this is the gentleman who came up with that, okay? So I'm not going to take credit for it. He needed to go ahead and say that. I'm glad it worked out, so Fry went to him because he deserved the opportunity to say that one. But I thought it was a great one. When he first came on, he goes, "Think that's cheesy?" I go, I kind of like it, though. And then we ran it by Fry when he saw it, and he thought it was funny, too. So definitely a big one. So now let's go over to North Tonawanda as Nash Rieselman comes up big in that game. The TNT game. He passes for 170 yards and 4 touchdowns in this one, and it carries the ball for another 11 yards as he has the day as North Tonawanda beats Tonawanda 30-20 in the TNT game.
Mr. Noah Willoughby tops 2,000 yards passing. He goes 12 for 868 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air. He also contributes 79. He was also the Sparks' leading rusher, 79 yards and a touchdown on the ground as South Park defeats Maritime 20-6 and captures the number 1 seed in the Class A playoffs.
Now back to Allegheny Limestone as Michael Frederick has his game. He does it more with the legs, but he also does it with the arm. He throws for 162 yards and a touchdown, and then runs the ball for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns as he has the day as Allegheny Limestone defeats Olean 30-21.
The Burgard Bulldogs needed a win in order to get into the playoffs, and they turn to their quarterback, Njai Starks. He delivers. He runs for 48 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he throws for 159 yards and a touchdown, leading the Burgard Bulldogs to a 32-13 win over Lakeshore.
So now we're going to go down to Southwestern as we've got Jamison Walsh. He's got the opportunity where he throws for 144 yards and 3 touchdowns in the win over Falconer Casadega Maple Grove. And he runs the ball for 36 yards as he has the day for Southwestern and leads that team to a win.
All right, next we're going to go to St. Francis. Remember, they took on Canisius in a Big Monsignor Martin battle, and Steve Otrumbo was one of their big guns. He, let's see, if I pull this up here. He threw for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown as well in the 36-13 win over Canisius. Red Raiders clinch the number 1 seed in the Monsignor Martin A division.
The next one gets on the list, and we've talked about him often. He's Billy Geschel of Lackawanna. Not sure if he's going to be the top quarterback or the best hair award out there, as we know, and he really lets that flow come out. But Billy Geschel comes out in this one, another day on the touchdowns, as Lackawanna beats Springville 44-14. He has 100 yards by the air and 3 touchdowns in this one to lead the way for Lackawanna.
Yeah, I gotta think. I don't know if there's anyone with longer hair in Section 6.
Definitely not one. It reminds me of that Head and Shoulders commercial with
Trey Palmalo.
Yeah, that's exactly what it reminds me. You got that nice flow hair going. And there's an award in hockey. The guy does from downstate. He does the best hair award.
Oh, that's right, Travis.
For hockey, right, for Travis. We got to get him to say we got an addition from the football side for this one.
All right, we're going to stay in the South Towns. Go to Hamburg. Jeffrey Lavelle, big rivalry game there. Hamburg Frontier. Of course, Hamburg falls in this one in a tight one, but he really shows up. He runs for 59 yards, 3 touchdowns. Meanwhile, he throws for 81 yards on 12 passes. So that's Jeffrey Lavelle from Hamburg.
Next, we're going to go to Eden North Collins. The quarterback, Matt Sweet. Yeah, I understand it's not big passing numbers. It's by the run on this one. He only throws the ball for 10 yards in this one because he doesn't have to. He rushes the ball for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns as Matt Sweet, the senior, has his day as they defeated Alden 24-6 in that game.
All right, next. I keep pressing the wrong guy. Micah Davis keeps wanting to come up. We already had Micah Davis. I want Antonio Davis computer, but Antonio Davis had a great day. Antonio Davis III had a great day for Bennett. He throws for 45 yards and 3 touchdowns. He only completed 3 passes. They all went for touchdowns. hey, that's all you really need to do as they defeat the Tigers defeat Hutch Tech 42-0.
The next, we're going to go back to Will North as Mitch Kelly comes up big in this one. Only needs to throw the ball for 40 yards in this one for a touchdown. Then he does it by the legs as he runs for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns as Williamsville North defeats Niagara Wheatfield 56-21.
Rivalry game, Newfane Wilson. Ben Dickinson has a fantastic game. As we move on to the wide receivers. 9 catches, 186 yards. That's a season high for him. 3 touchdowns as the Panthers defeat Wilson 34-25.
I think we left one out. I don't think Bergman was done in Akron. Am I correct?
No, I don't think we...
Okay, so let's go back there. We want to recognize Chris Bergman, the quarterback at Akron, as he actually throws the ball for 162 yards against Roy Hart Barker Lindenville in the 29-2 victory. And then he also rushes the ball for 84 yards and 3 touchdowns. Chris Bergman with 4 touchdowns leads the way in that big victory.
All right, well, this is going to work out because we're actually going to go to his wide receiver. That is Donnie Cryer from Akron. He had a big game. He in that 29-2 victory, he caught 5 catches. He made 5 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown.
Next, we're going to go to Iroquois again, and it's the big wide receiver, Nate McGoldrick, in this one, as he has 6 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns as he stays hot at Iroquois, helping that freshman quarterback out, Justice Kleitz.
All right, next we're going to head back to Monsignor Martin. St. Joe's took on St. Andrews this week. I believe they bounced back in this one. I'm trying to pull up the stats here. St. Joe's fell to St. Francis last week, 22-0, but they come back and get this one. And it was Robert Anspach III. He had 6 catches, 123 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Now we're going to go over to Williamsville South as Jason Green has 3 receptions for 99 yards and a touchdown in Will South's win over Grand Island 27-20.
All right, next we're going to go down to Jamestown. Carson Penabianco had 7 catches, 109 yards, and a touchdown as Jamestown takes care of business 55-14 over Clarence.
Next, we're going to go to Niagara Wheatfield as the basketball player / football player does it again. Sean Watson has a day as he has 7 receptions for 97 yards and a touchdown in the loss to Williamsville North.
Here's a name we haven't talked about yet this year, Casey Sadot from Wilson. He had 2 catches, 97 yards, and a touchdown in that loss to Newfane this past Saturday.
The last one is going to come right down to Fredonia as we have Keegan Whitfield has 7 receptions for 96 yards and a touchdown in Fredonia's 47-20 win over Dunkirk.
All right, that will do it for our second segment, our individual performance recognized. Coming up, our final segment, we're going to talk about the best games of Week 9. Yes, first round of the playoffs. And we're going to award our Freak of the Week. You're watching Western New York High School Football Weekly on WNY Athletics.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you. Western New York Immediate Care provides quick, quality care for non-emergent injuries and illnesses. Go to WNYImmediatecare.com for more.
Welcome back. Final segment, Western New York High School Football Weekly. Francis Beck, Tom Prince here. And we're going to talk about some of the top games happening this weekend in Section 6. Of course, it is the playoffs. So we're going to stick to the playoff games. We'll start Thursday night. Big one on the NFHS network. It's going to be Maryvale versus Burgard. Class B action. Maryvale gets the number 1 seed after winning, or they get a number 1 seed, I should say, in Class B. They win their division. They'll take on Burgard from the Class B1. I know this is a 1-4 game, but if we look to recent history, these two teams have played, some pretty tight games in the past, and there's certainly a history here.
Oh, there's no doubt there's history here. And we get yelled at all the time for not talking about Burgard. So let's talk about Burgard, all right? Listen, Doug Washington, no doubt, they're bruising running back, and you've got to stop them. The answer on the other side of the ball, Justice Hill, right? That's exactly what it is. You got two big bruising backs that are going to go against each other. We talked about when we recognized Najai Starks right here, that we recognize for having a big game. He's got to have a big game against these guys. I'll tell you the key and the difference will be is the defense right now, right? Burgard has given up some points in some big games, right? You've got to somehow slow down this attack of Maryvale that has been undefeated so far this season and has really taken on all comers in this one. But it will be the success of Burgard is the run. You can run the ball, you get behind that line comes here and opens up some holes, watch it, anything can happen. But, like we said, right now Justice Hill is there's a reason they moved him over to running back. And he is having an exceptional year out there. And right now you've got to look and give the edge right here early to Maryville.
All right, so that game will be on the NFHS network. All of our playoff games this weekend will be on the NFHS network because it is the playoffs. So grab your subscription now. We'll be doing some soccer, plenty of volleyball next week. So grab it now. One subscription covers you all the way through the state playoffs. So might as well grab it now. Get your money's worth. So Friday, it'll be South Park and Clarence in a big 1-8 game. Will North and Maritime. We'll also have Albion Pioneer, Falconer, West Seneca East, and then Fredonia, Depew. So Friday, so on the NFHS network, I should clarify, it'll be Jamestown will also be playing against West Seneca West, and you can also find the Albion game, Albion Pioneer, and Fredonia Depew. But Tom, I want to start with South Park Clarence. On paper, it's the 1-8 game in Class A, but I know you're not counting this Clarence team out.
You can't. Absolutely, you can't, right? If you looked at it at one point, right, you could say that Clarence was a top 5 team in the A division right there. They are in the mix right here. They have a very good defense, and they have an offense that is tough to prepare for sometimes, right? We know that they do different things with the run. It will also be, it really says that line has to be disciplined, right? You have to hold your holes. You have to stay in the gaps. You can't go out and try to do something different, or otherwise they will find holes and they will be able to take the ball for long drives right there. But this South Park team has already proved they could go up against some very good defenses. Last week with Maritime, included right there, and they can still put up the points necessary that they need to do. Right? This is gonna be a good game. It's not the typical 1-8 matchup that you would see normally inside of a playoffs, but inside the A division, there's no such thing as 1-8 real. Every matchup is a tough matchup right in there. We knew the first job in this division was get to the playoffs. They're all there. And remember, from that side that Clarence came from, they've had to play Jamestown, Will North, right? Some of the biggest teams. Plus, they went out and played Orchard Park, right? In fact, I want to say Clarence played Lancaster too, right?
Maybe.
I think they played Lancaster too. So you can just see right here, they have played big games to get themselves ready for this one. And again, we know, though, Coach Delaney is going to have that team, that coaching staff is going to have that team ready. This one, though, should be a great game right there. No doubt it should be a good one.
Clarence did not play Lancaster, but they did play
They played
Bennett.
Bennett. They played Bennett. Right, so I apologize. I got the wrong.
And if
the
I
wrong
remember
one to
right,
talk to.
that was at least close for a half before Bennett won, and of course
you
we
would
know
think
what
either
happened.
way
but-
that this game should be at least that close for that half, and then see what happens.
All right, Aaron,
It could be the adjustments made at half by either team to really win that ball game.
Williamsville North only 1 point from winning the Class A1 title. They followed their only loss, or their only league loss, was to Jamestown by a point. So they're rewarded with the number 4 seed in a home game against Western New York Maritime, a team that has won 3 straight Class B titles, and they're in the thick of it right now in Class A.
It's going to be a great one, right? It's going to be a great one. Smash mouth football right here, right? Both teams want to run the ball. Both really want to run the ball. Mitch Kelly could be the difference right here for Will North. Can he put it up by the air when they need to go to the air? Could be the difference in this one. But really, this should be a great game of two evenly matched teams. A great 4-5 matchup that you're looking for when it comes to Western New York football. You know, unfortunate, a couple of rough losses here in the end for Maritime. But again, you know, we talk about Ty Parker always having a team ready and looking ahead to those playoffs. He always says, get in first. Remember, records all go 0-0. Anything can happen. I like this Will North team, though. I like the way they're playing second half of the season, especially after that Jamestown win. I thought they gave Orchard Park fits in that game with the defense.
They gave Lancaster some fits.
They gave Lancaster fits. That was even though it was 21-0. I really believe the defense was there. Watch out, you guys. This Will North team is legit, and they are going to be a very tough out for anybody.
Our next game, we're going down to Class B. It's Albion traveling to Pioneer. You know, we talked about the Jones brothers for Albion. They take on a Pioneer team with some athletes as well.
How could you not get pumped about this game, right? So I remember going to talk to Coach at the Albion coach when we were at the East Aurora Holland game, right? And I looked at him, I go, what happened early in the season? And he said to me, he goes, honestly, Tom, he goes, we had a real young line. They just had to get some games under their belts, right? They had to understand what expectations were. They had to understand what good looks like. Yeah, they understand it now. They understand it now, I'll tell you that. And, boy, you know they want to be able to come after this Pioneer team. This Pioneer team, man, everybody is sleeping on, right? Look, they've come up and beat South Park already. They're one of the teams that we're talking about in the A. That's the number 1 seed. Pioneer went up and beat them, right? It just shows how good this team is. A great win over West Seneca East, if you remember that, right? They've beaten this Albion team. You take this Pioneer team lightly and forget about it. They have great defense, and they are going to run the ball, right? And again, to do that, they have a line out there, but I'll tell you, this defense really is what's key to this Pioneer team and the success that they've had so far this year. And then look at Albion. Man, this is, you will see an electric player in Amari Jones do some fantastic things. This should be a really fun one to watch.
All right, so week 4, these two teams did play in a non-league battle. Albion won that one, 22-16. And you look at it, this game was tied at the half, and then Albion scores in the fourth quarter to win that one. So certainly should be. We're hoping for another close game in that one. That one will be on, again, the NFHS network. Go grab your subscriptions. Next one is going to be West Seneca East traveling all the way down to Falconer to take on the Golden Cougars in the other 2-3 battle in Class B.
I mean, what do you say? This is going to be a really good game. I mean, you've seen that the Falconer Casadega Maple Grove team has done fantastic, right? And their losses, if you look about, have been tough losses, and they've been predominantly, if you think about it, on the road. West Seneca East has got to travel all the way down there, right down there, and get ready to be able to get that win. This is going to be a tough game for both teams. You've already seen West Seneca East go up and play a playoff team in A and take West Seneca West to the brink, right? This team is for real. They really are. Their defense is always ready. Another team where you've got to make sure you stop the run. We talked about two guys that can run the ball, right, over at West Seneca East.
Yeah, Rosario and Hayes.
Both guys can do it. You're going to have Caldwell down there for Maple Grove, Casadega, Valley Falconer, right? That's going to be big for them. This will truly be about defense and stopping the run. Very similar to what we're talking about in the Pioneer Albion game, right? A lot of these teams, run-first teams, that you've got to get up, and you're going to see some of these teams stack the box. For those of you who don't know what we mean by stack the box, is there's a box, in essence, of where it comes off that line. You're going to see guys in there.
They might be putting 9 guys in the box.
You're going to see multiple teams stack that box and say, try to beat me by the air, right? Let me use my one guy who's deep, right? My safety that's back there to deep. He could take care of that one pass that could come off there. But you are going to see true smash-mouth football in some of these games, and this is one of them. This really is a game where whoever's going to win, they're going to win by the ground.
All right, our next game we're going to talk about, another one on NFHS Network. It's going to be Fredonia Depew. You know, I was looking up this morning, and it finally dawned on me. Fredonia was at the stadium last year. The reason you forget about it is they had a completely different quarterback at the helm.
No, I think they even want to forget about it because they don't want to see snow in that weather again, right? And unfortunately, we thought it was going to be the game of probably the stadium, and unfortunately, it didn't come out like that, right? But I'll tell you, you've got to give our Friday Night Lights guy right here, right? You got to give him credit because it is very hard to step in for a quarterback, especially one that's a Division I quarterback, right? That you're coming in and stepping in for him right now. And he has really done that and really excelled. And you're seeing him getting better and better and better as the season goes on. Micah Davis has also been huge for him down there at the same exact time. So those two really you can see coming together leading that Fredonia team. And again, another team I think a lot of people are sleeping on is Depew. Right? Just, again, very quietly been out there winning games, doing what they're supposed to do. The only thing is, that C-South, whoo, right? I mean, come on. Salamanca, Fredonia, Southwestern, you got
It came down to, I think, a couple points to break that tiebreaker.
Oh, I mean, they're
2 points.
They're all good.
Yeah.
You know, Lackawanna, you're in for a dogfight, right? Cleve Hill, you're in for a dogfight, right? And guess what? Depew, you're in for a dogfight. There's no doubt about it. This is 3 really good teams that you're going to be able to stop it. Why I really like Fredonia right now, they can throw and run. They can do it from either way, right? It's not a one-dimensional team that you're going to go out there. You prepare for one, they can beat you the other way.
All right, and then finally, another game on the NFHS Network. I think it's the only game Saturday, the only playoff game. Lackawanna hosting Southwestern.
No, CSP is also on Saturday.
Oh, you're right, CSP in Class D. But the big game really, another really big game is Lackawanna Southwestern. Southwestern comes into this game as the 7th seed. Hey, last year they were the 7th seed.
Year in a row.
They came and they got a first-round win over 2-seeded Depew. I'm sure that coach is reminding his players of that all week long. There's no reason why we can't do that again. I think that they're going to be very motivated to come up to Lackawanna and get that win.
They have to be. How do you not come in with that? But folks, if you haven't seen Lackawanna, this is a good team. You got 2 linemen that are legit, and one of them should be in there, the Trench Trophy that we're going to be talking about.
And his brother might be better in a few years.
The only difference is Sammy's a little bit bigger, wider. That's it. But, man, I've seen Sammy, and he can hit, man. I'll tell you that. Sammy is unbelievable. And I'm going to tell you, if you see Sammy get in there and pound out the weights, he may be talking about a high-level type recruiting right there. But, listen, Sunday's legit. You're going to need a game plan for Sunday, and there's no doubt about it. And, listen, we talked about it. Geschel can play. He's a 3-year starter, right? I keep telling everybody in Western New York, you're sleeping on this kid, right? He's proven it over and over and over again. And when he needs to run the ball, he will run the ball like a running back, right? and he has no problem with contact and be able to do some things. This, by no stretch of the means, is an easy game for either team. This should come down, and I won't be surprised. This is a last possession type game, but this should be a fun one. And I'm on the call on this one, and I am pumped for this game, you guys. I cannot wait to see this Southwestern Lackawanna game because I truly believe both of these teams are that good right there. And you know, we're going to see Walsh for Southwestern. We're going to see some
We're going to see
stars.
Panis.
Oh, Panis. We've been talking about him for years, too, already, right? You're talking about the stars need to come up big in this one. You want to win, you better leave it out off in the field. But I'm going to tell you, whoever comes out of that one is going to be battle-tested, ready for the next game.
All right, reminder, no Class AA playoffs this week. They get a bye as there's going to be only 4 teams. And I think the 5th team is going to have Ouachita is going to have a matchup game this week. Somebody out of the A. So yeah, AA, Lancaster, Clarence, Bennett, they're off this week. They get a break. They'll be playing in their semifinal next week before heading off to the stadium. So be sure also to keep an eye on our social media this week. We're going to tell you where you can find those games on the NFHS network. I would still grab one anyway because that's the only place you can watch the playoffs is the NFHS network because you're now all the way through the stadium and it gets you for not just football but for all sports as well. So grab that now and get yourself covered for the playoffs. But Tom, we have another award to hand out.
This was tough this week. I'm not going to lie, West New York. This was a tough one this week. And, you know, normally we've seen somebody who's had, 500 yards rushing, 600 yards through the air. It's so easy for us to pick. This week wasn't necessarily. We saw somebody that had outrageous yards that we really had to pick. So really this was about how did you come up big in a game that you had to win, right?
You had to win.
Where it is. And, and that it was a good matchup, too, at the same exact time. And there's been one kid that's been, like, flirting right along, right? He's been right there all along.
He's been in our top 2 or 3.
Every single week he's right there. And then he plays Western New York Maritime. He does it again. He comes up big. We got a chance. I even got to interview him this week. Noah Willoughby, you're our freak of the week. There's no doubt about it. As you come up big, 3 touchdowns in that one. All the scoring comes with Noah Willoughby, and he deserves his recognition as he's our freak of the week.
South Park needed 13 points to get that number 1 seed. With Noah Willoughby, they get 14. He does what he needs to do for his team. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the area because he knows what he needs to do for his offense. He knows his receivers so well. He gets them the ball, and they're able to make plays. That's why he's one of the top guys in Western New York, and that's why he deserves our Freak of the Week this week.
I agree. I mean, he's number one passer right now.
Over 2,000 yards.
With yards. So he absolutely has earned it, and he will get our recognition this week.
And they're going to need him to throw the ball against this Clarence team who wants to keep it on the ground. They're going to try to keep him off the field.
That's exactly what they're going to try to do.
So it's going to be up to Willoughby to, I think, try to get short drives and just take a lead early in that one.
Or your defense has got to start coming up there.
Which they came up big against Maritime.
Absolutely did. 100%. Yep.
All right, so that will do it for us. Again, games this weekend on the NFHS Network. Watch our social media. Sign up now to get your subscription. But for Heidi Gunther, our producer, Tom Prince, I'm Francis Beck. Thank you for tuning in to Western New York High School Football Weekly. We'll see you next week.
Life can be full of surprises, but not always the good kind. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care, and we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
With exclusive buyer insights and our 100% money-back guarantee, we're confident we'll find buyers for your home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.